My name is Ryan Snaadt. It rhymes with odd, and I'm the founder of Solo Video Pro. It's an online course that helps you master the business of videography in a couple days, not years. And I came up with this idea probably about 3 years ago through trial and error by putting out YouTube videos and asking my audience what they wanted from me. So kind of my target market for this is aspiring video professionals. Right now, this market is super hot just because the demand for video has gone up exponentially over the last couple of years for brands, businesses, entrepreneurs, personal brands, keynote speakers, like anyone that you can think of needs to have a presence online. And the best way to do that is to capture video content. So when I talk about filmmakers, a lot of people think of like the Quentin Tarantinos, the Steven Spielbergs of the world. And really it's not those types of people that I'm targeting with this product. It's the small startup folks that have a one-man band or a 1 to 5 man team, and they shoot smaller micro projects compared to the multi-million-dollar blockbuster films. So with this enhancement in technology, you can get a camera gear for relatively cheap and get really high quality images. So there's this big need and demand for this to kind of get that going for folks. So really the problem that I have with this is that you could start in film school or college, or you go on YouTube to learn the technical skills about how to shoot videos, right? And the big hurdle that gets people is it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of education. You have to build your skill set on your own, and you have to fail a ton to get to the point where you're making money doing it as a side hustle or a full-time job. So with this kind of being an issue for people, I saw this as a massive problem in terms of, it takes people 5 to 10 years to get to the point where they're going full-time, and there's a lot of failure, and there's no real blueprint or framework that they can follow. For a normal job, you would go to college for 4 years, you would get the skills you needed to then get a job in the field that you would like, ideally. Where this, it's a lot of just figuring it out on your own. So we wanted to try to avoid some of that issue and help people out in a different way. So that's when I went and created an online product that helps expedite that process and basically give the people a to Z process on the business side of how to launch their business and start and grow it and market and sell it and scale it at scale. So that's really what Solo Video Pro does. It takes people from the point where they're starting to learn the technical skills, and it gives them the business back end to know how to grow their business. So really what the product consists of is 90 plus video business trainings. There's different seasons or lessons or chapters that I call them seasons, but they focus on the different parts of the business that you're in, depending on where you're at in the business. So when you first start out, there's a whole chapter about how to start. So how to start an LLC, how to do your finances, how to do your taxes, the benefits of doing different niches. So if you should get into weddings or business or corporate or whatever you want to get into. The next season is all about selling. So I talk about sales tactics on how to sell high ticket productions, how to be confident in your sales and your marketing and your pricing as well. I have recordings of real sales calls that I've done to help people understand how I talk to clients, how I get budget out of people, how I understand how to market and sell my services as well. Then the next season talks about marketing. So it's all about social media and your website and how to grow it that way. Scaling, so how to be more efficient and all those types of things. And then soaring, I talk about specific niches and how to get into niches and make more money that way. So I also have a Facebook ads mini course as a part of my product. So there's an entire chapter or season, if you will, that teaches people how to start and run Facebook ads for their business. So this is a really big issue as well for people that are a solo producer. They know how to shoot, but then they hand the videos off and they don't know how to market them. So I have a whole course about that in there. I also have interviews with successful freelancers that are in my network that I know that do, 6 to 7 figures a year in different industries. So high fashion photography. There's people that do travel photography for models and stuff like that in Europe. So I have a lot of them come in and talk on their personal experiences. I also have email templates, contracts, other downloadables, $300 in annual discounts on software. And then I also have a private mentorship Facebook group that I continually coach these folks up over time and give them some sense of community. And then I also add new lessons every single month. So those are kind of that's what people get when they buy into the program. So let's see here. One of the pieces of the online education industry right now, it's a huge, massively growing industry. We're seeing this a lot. I know there's a lot of students on the call here today. And as you can see, we're doing a lot of shift to online learning. So this is a huge, massive growing market right now. And according to Tech Jury, the actual growing part of this industry is going to be about 12.8 billion in the next 4 years or so. So this is really just a massively growing market. There's a lot of new players coming in and people that want to learn specific skills about this. So it's really beneficial too, because you can learn at your own pace. You can rewatch lessons. It's cheaper and more specific than traditional education. So people can buy my course and learn specifically how to become a good business person in this industry compared to trying to figure it out on their own. And there's a lot of players in the space too. We've got Teachable, Udemy, Thinkific, Skillshare, LinkedIn Learning, and then other personal brands like you can see here with Sunny Lenarduzzi, Sean Cannell, Tony Robbins, Peter McKinnon, some of these other people that are teaching this stuff online as well. So it's a massively growing industry is what I'm trying to get at. Let's see here. So competitors for me, when I first started this 3 years ago, I didn't know personally of any business programs that I knew of that would teach what I was teaching. Now there's other ones like Video Business Mastery, Studio Sherpas, Cinemastery, some other ones. The main one at the time though was Full-Time Filmmaker, which is Parker Wallbach's here. And he has over 300 lessons, but it teaches about everything. So camera gear, lighting, audio. There's one chapter about the business stuff, but there's only 6 lessons in that chapter. So I basically took the one micro piece of that massive course and really went super deep on it because I think that's the most important thing and the thing that people can't get the information from right now. So that's really where I tried to differentiate and be kind of my own product there. So really quick, my story, how I got into this was when I was in college, I started shooting started shooting fitness videos for my fitness YouTube channel and kind of built my skill set that way. So I was shooting, videos of workouts and food that I was eating and putting it up on YouTube. And over the years, I've elevated my skills and I started shooting freelance videos and I started getting in conversations with bigger brands and companies and stuff like that. And people were asking me all the time, they're saying, Ryan, how do you even sell this? Like, how do you even know what to do or what to say or how to market yourself and that type of thing. So that was really what kind of got me into it, was me shooting freelance and a lot of people asking me a lot of questions because I was sharing a lot on my YouTube channel. So really the market validation for me was this huge growing market of aspiring videographers. There's millions of them on Facebook and YouTube that are consistently looking for information. Most businesses need video to stay relevant online. Like I mentioned, the market is growing quite a bit. So there was a lot of interest there. And then there's a lot of people sharing things on YouTube, Facebook groups, Reddit, and their own experiences that I had that I was like, okay, I think this could really be a good thing here. And the fact that there's such a low barrier to entry for students that want to start their own business. So people can come in, buy a camera, start learning the skills, and then start understanding the business side to start creating an income from this. So let's see here. The product development timeline, I started the idea in about 2017. I was testing content on my YouTube channel. I started kind of figuring out, okay, if I'm going to really go serious on YouTube, what's a way that I could monetize this and make it worth my while and really add a ton of value to my audience. So in 2018, I launched my 30 lesson minimum viable product, if I can speak properly, minimum viable product of 30 lessons. I just had start selling and scaling. And since then I've added a ton of lessons to it. So in 2019, I got up to 50 lessons. I rebranded everything. It was the Start and Scale Videography Business Course, which, say that 10 times fast, it'll probably make your head spin. So I rebranded everything. I actually invested in a course building course, which the Full-Time Filmmaker course I referred to before, those guys actually created their own course about how they make millions of dollars with their course. So I invested in that, rebranded everything, followed their structure to a T, and automated the entire sales process. So I have a bunch of sales coming in that are all automated that I don't have to do anything to get those leads from. So now today, flash forward to today, I have about 90 lessons in the course. I add a new lesson every month. I have the mini course that's in there, and I also added interviews to differentiate my product a little bit more. So kind of the differentiators, like I mentioned, it's 100% focus on the business skills. So many people ask me, well, Ryan, why don't you teach the videography skills, like how to shoot and edit and all those things? And I really just try and put my line in the sand there because there's so many resources that you can learn online for free to do that. You could also go to film school and stuff like that. And that's really not where I'm passionate. I want to share the business skills because it's what actually makes people money and it's what grows their business. And that's really the key component that most people don't focus on. I also add new lessons monthly, which I mentioned, all the other stuff here as well, which I also mentioned, just trying to differentiate my brand from some of the other guys out there and my continued commitment to my students and trying to add value to them. So really quick here, I want to obviously get through this as quick as we can so we can try and talk more, but I'd love to, if you guys have questions about the marketing funnel, since that's my area that I love. That's why I built this course, was to test all the marketing hypotheses that I had, was how can I sell things online with an automated marketing funnel? So really the core of it is my YouTube channel, which is up here. I make a video every single week that promotes or that talks about a specific topic in that niche. So or 6 tips to selling a high ticket video, how to start a video production business in college, how to start with weddings, all these different things. I make videos about those that then drive traffic to my webinar. So I have an automated webinar that collects their email, puts them through an automated sales presentation that goes through a ton of helpful tips, gives them a ton of value, and then pitches my product at the end. So at the end of that, if they don't buy, they also go into an email drip sequence that I can then further build that commitment to that and kind of build that up a little bit more. And then this year, I've really gotten into how do I cross promote it from other ways. So those 3 years ago, I actually started a freelance videographer Facebook group, because again, the Facebook groups all sucked. They were 20-year veterans, people that were bashing on new people. They wouldn't let new people in that had questions. So I started my own Facebook group, and now it has over 20,000 members in it. So I use my 20,000 member Facebook group to funnel people to the webinar. I guest appeared on podcasts, which funnel them to the webinar. I've started a blog. My YouTube or my website is optimized for SEO. Again, funneling all those people to the webinar into the funnel. So would love to talk about this more when I'm done here, but just wanted to lay that groundwork here. But the student base, which is really cool. A lot of people ask me where the students at, where they located. It's heavily located in the US, but I do have students all around the world. There are students from the Netherlands, Shanghai. I also have some people from Vancouver. It's a really cool group, and it's really interesting to hear how all these problems are very consistent no matter where you're at in the world. It's very interesting. And then in terms of the people, we have college students, seasoned videographers. There's photographers that are switching to video that want to learn more about that. And there's also an ex-NFL wide receiver who started his own freelance business. So it's kind of cool. There's a whole hodgepodge of people that come in and that can find value from this. So looking at the future, right now, my main source of new leads is from my YouTube channel and paid ads. So I want to really increase that YouTube channel. Right now, I have about 30,000 monthly views on my channel. I'd like to get that up to about 200,000 monthly views. If I get that up to that, I can probably convert those into 20,000 subscribers, which would then turn into about 500 paying members based on my current metrics breakdown. So, and then that 500 paying members would result in about $100,000 in all-time revenue. So 5-year goals, I'd like to author a book next year as a lead magnet for videographers. So having a free shipping or a free with paid shipping type of option, or even having it on Amazon. And then I'd also like to hire an assistant editor to help me edit new lessons and help build the community, since I'm editing about 15 videos a week on top of a full-time job. So would like to add that on there as well, just so I spread this out and add as much value as possible. Here's a quote from Henry Ford. Wealth is like happiness. It never is attained or sought after directly. It comes as a byproduct of providing a useful service. And that's how you can connect with me. So hopefully that was 10 minutes. I tried to keep it really concise for everybody. So thanks so much for having me on. And I'm happy to talk a lot about this and answer any of your guys' questions. So.
No, that was great. Thank you so much, Ryan. It sounds like we need to have you back to give us a crash course on marketing.
Sure. Happy to do it. I can go for a long time. So if you guys have a couple hours, we can sit here and go.
That's really awesome. Well, we've got a couple of questions already in the chat, but if you do have a question, you can either enter it into the chat or you can go ahead and unmute your microphone and ask directly. But what is the name of the Facebook group?
Yes, it's the Freelance Videographer Community is what it's called. So if you just look up the Freelance Videographer Community, and the banner image has a picture of me in it, so you might recognize that and see it from there. But yeah, a lot of people ask me about how did you grow it that fast and all those things. And again, that was something that I started it out of a need because I was irritated. But then once I started it, Facebook's algorithm changed a little bit, and they realized that a lot of people that are on Facebook regularly are engaged in their groups. That's the main reason people get on Facebook, is to check their groups, learn about things, get on the forums. So then it started automatically recommending my group to everyone that was in related groups, right? So I have about 200 people a day that request to join it. And I had to put in questions because I just had a bunch of people coming in and spamming my group with, join my MLM or, get rich quick schemes or whatever. So I had to kind of put some parameters in place, but I just asked 3 basic questions. It's, are you a videographer? What do you want to get from the group? And what do you want to give to the group? And you'd be surprised how many people don't even answer the questions. So I don't accept them unless they answer those 3 simple questions. So in terms of building a community, I would definitely recommend that if you are trying to grow a grassroots organic marketing pool for yourself that you can tap and do. Because now, since I own that group, there's no other moderators. I don't have to answer to anybody else. So I could promote the crap out of my products if I want, no matter what, and not have to answer to anybody or feel bad about it, because people know that the course is sponsored by Solo Video Pro. So, and then in terms of automating those leads into my funnel, I have a welcome video that I actually manually welcome every person that comes, which you can do through the Facebook group thing as well. It just automatically does it, tags everybody. And I always say, go check out my pinned video on the group, and you can go to the top, and then I kind of introduce the group, what the rules are. And then, oh, by the way, here's all my other free resources that you can download, which get them again in my email funnel, so I can collect those leads and start marketing to those people. So that in itself has been really fun to kind of experiment with. And again, a lot of these are just me nerding out about marketing and wanting to try them on something. So I just do it for my own business and figure out what works and what doesn't. So.
Awesome. So once you purchase, are you able to access the content on an ongoing basis, or is it an annual subscription?
Yeah, good question. So it's lifetime access. I have everything hosted through a site called Thinkific, which is a MLS, which is kind of a learning management system. So I didn't have to go and build a website to do all this. I didn't have to build in payment. I didn't have to build a SaaS product. There's already software out there that does that for me. So once people get in my system, Thinkific takes care of everything, and it's lifetime access. So the bad piece, because a lot of courses in my space just have a set number of lessons. You watch it, you learn, and then you're gone. Where I want to really build that product lifetime value over time. So like they pay a one-time fee right now to get into the lessons, but I want them to end up paying for my higher end services down the road, like one-on-one consulting, group coaching. I'm also working with a friend to develop a videographer association. So he's wanting to launch that in 2021. So we'll have like a national event, kind of like any other association you're a part of, where they have a global event, an expo. That's another income stream again. So we can upsell those down the road. So it's like, okay, the course is $500. Now the next thing could be $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 down the road. So again, it's the more that you're going to charge, the more value you need to provide. So if you're going to charge somebody over $1,000, you better be able to get them that ROI really quickly. And I see a lot of courses that don't focus on that either. So just from the sales season alone, my students are making tens of thousands of dollars more just by knowing how to sell to people and how to build that skill set up. So again, it's figuring out the ROI from that and how to become better at it. So.
Do you use any sort of referral program?
Yes. So Thinkific has a plugin that's for an affiliates program. So I have kind of a post-purchase sequence that I go through. So I try to give a bunch of value, make sure my students are learning a lot, get a good testimonial from them. And then after that, I say, okay, if you're learning a lot from this course, I'd really like if you'd share it. But if you want, we can plug you into our affiliate program and you can get a percentage of the sale. So I usually give them about 20% of the sale. And again, those are free inbound leads for me. And I'm more about the impact than I am the income at this point. I want to get as many people in the course that love it, that get a bunch of value from it, and continue to share it with other people. So I've already had a couple people refer in before I even had the affiliate program set up. But to kind of facilitate that a little bit, I definitely recommend doing some kind of referral program. And again, back to the marketing piece, a big book that helped me a lot with this was The One-Page Marketing Plan by Alan Dibb. So if you guys haven't read that, super good read. That helped me a lot with trying to figure out the increasing customer lifetime value, making sure I have systems in place to get referrals, to get people in my funnel, focus on certain platforms to grow them out, and kind of really make the marketing the whole cornerstone for this entire product. So.
Do you think there's an eventual value for partnering or doing a formal CEU or a certificate program from a subset of your modules?
So would that be kind of like partnering with a college or an accredited university to make it more legit? Is that what they're trying to get at? Yes.
Yep. Todd's nodding.
Sorry, I see head nodding.
Yep.
Okay.
Ryan knows where I'm going with this.
Cool. Yeah. So I think so. I mean, especially with how learning is innovating and changing, it has to be relative, right? And that's really the big, and I think, and this is just me kind of spouting off here, but I think that's the big thing that keeps people from getting to where they want to be. So you go to film school because you want to become a filmmaker, but I've talked to tens of people that went to film school that know nothing about business. They didn't talk anything about how to make money from doing it. And it's like, well, that's the end game, right? You want to learn how to monetize those skills and be a full-time filmmaker, right? So really, I think it has to be a cornerstone turn in to get that. It's where education meets practice, and it's where those realistic relative skills are like, okay, what's the blueprint to do this, right? Because I took a ton of marketing classes. None of it taught me about this type of stuff. I had to go out and learn it on my own. So that's why I kind of think to answer your question, yes, it should be tied in and accredited. It should be that way. But I think also the accreditation comes from the proof, right? If we have hundreds of students that are in it that are getting value, I think the social proof kind of sells itself, if that makes sense. So.
What is the most important skill you have that's allowed you to become a successful entrepreneur?
Sure. I think it's really just at the core of it, finding a problem and providing a solution. As I mentioned through this presentation, I didn't set out to build this to make money. It's not just some quick get rich quick scheme. For me, it's providing a service that people need really badly. It's providing that service and doing that. And if something doesn't exist, building it. So I would say try and figure out something that you're passionate about, that you're willing to put the work in, something that you intimately understand the problem. For me, since I went through this process 5 years ago, I knew firsthand how much misinformation or lack of information is out there and a structure to do this. And especially for my audience, I knew specifically that a lot of them don't like or are not skilled at the business side. And almost everyone I talked to that is successful did the same thing. They wasted 5 years of their life figuring out the business stuff. And it's like, well, why don't we just expedite that process and give them a structure to kind of get them off the ground and get them launched? So that was that. I guess if to answer your question, find the really pivotal key point, turnkey solution that if I just had this one solution, I could plug it in and turn it, it would make this entire process so much easier.
Absolutely. And to that point, you hit on something earlier, which I think is so important, and that's you went out and asked your audience what they wanted. You did a lot of customer discovery before really jumping into building what you did. So can you talk maybe at a more high level about the types of questions you were asking during that process and how you knew you were on the right path?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, obviously, I mentioned my main customer acquisition platform is YouTube. I could do an entire presentation on how my 7,000 subscriber YouTube channel makes thousands of dollars a month. Like, it's ridiculous how powerful YouTube is in terms of a search engine, in terms of a side income, in terms of a marketing your business on autopilot. And you make one video and I still get views from stuff from 3 or 4 years ago. It's crazy. So I would say for me, I knew that right out of the gate because I was on YouTube searching around and I was looking through the comment sections of really popular videos. And a lot of people would say, 10 lighting tips to get your lighting key lighted perfectly. And all the comments were like, okay, well, how did you get this interview with this client? Because they're doing a live interview and they don't answer that question because they don't want people to steal their knowledge. And what I learned really quickly was like the internet's a really big place. There's somebody out there that's going to share that information. And you might as well make a couple bucks while you're at it because they're going to go find that information anyway. And I think that was really the thing for me when I started reading through the comment sections and the forums is that all the people that are really good at the skill are terrible at the business side. And the people that are really good at the business side aren't on YouTube making videos because they're too busy out there killing it in their business. They don't have time to make videos. So again, it's like, I realized that if I took a step back and helped educate people that I could make a bigger impact that way. And I saw the need just from YouTube and Reddit specifically, and then also the Facebook groups, because a lot of people were asking the same questions. It's what software do I use? How do I make money doing this? How do I sell? Like, how do you do contracts? Do I become an LLC? Like, what are the benefits of that? All those types of things. So.
And it sounds like the business learning doesn't have to be just for videographers. Would you consider marketing a subset of your product to anyone needing business skills?
That's a good question. I would say it applies to anybody that would be like a solo owner operator. So like a photographer, graphic designer, videographer, everything obviously is pointed to videography, but a lot of the courses, a lot of the lessons are cross compatible different sets. But if you're kind of a solo operator, it definitely covers a lot of that. And I think I was wanting to get my course to a certain income level. I started to launch another one. So I'd like to launch another course that's all about being a one-man marketer. So kind of focusing on the stuff that I was talking about. You let channel presence and manage it so you're not overwhelmed with a lot of stuff. And how do you take baby steps to get there? Because it sounds like I'm doing a lot, which I am, but it's also, it took years to get there. And I wanted to YouTube first, figure out how to get that going properly, and then focus on my website website, then get my blog going, then go find podcasts in my space that were looking for people to interview, and then go on there when I could pitch my product and I was confident in it. So.
Have you had people take the course that aren't videographers that just wanted to learn the business skills?
Yes, I had a guy, he's working with a partner to develop a online yoga course. So he wanted to learn kind of the marketing side of how I do that to organically grow the marketing side. So that was another thing. He was one of my consulting clients. I had him on, and I think it was more of I gave him so much value that he just felt like buying it type thing, but he's actually watched all the lessons and gotten a lot of value from it too. So that's kind of again, it's the reciprocity thing, is that it'll come back around if you give a ton of value. So yeah, if that answers your question.
Right. And if anyone wants to jump in and ask their question in person, please feel free to interrupt me. I don't want my voice to be the only one you hear, but I'll continue through the chat. Otherwise, Russ is asking, is there enough business content to continue adding to your course over the long haul?
Yeah, I think so. Right now I'm doing just about less than a month. And it's based on the needs of my students in my course. So I ask them in the Facebook group every month, hey, what are you struggling with right now? And a lot of things have come from that. From the mini course, from that is like, hey, we saw your Facebook ad, we got in your funnel, we bought your course. Like, can you teach us how to do that? So that's kind of what got me to do the Facebook ads mini course. And then I realized, oh, this could be a standalone product. Again, like you said, not just for videographers, but a lot of people that want to learn how to run Facebook ads, manage the campaigns, and do those things. So I just did a really quick hitter mini course from that. And it just kind of goes, get to a point where I don't have any things to talk about in terms of like big skills type stuff, but it can be very specific. And that's kind of where I've gotten in terms of evergreen stuff. I interview successful videographers in different industries. So I go find people that are videos for high-end rap stuff in LA. Like, I'll find those people and I'll interview them, because if people want to get into that industry, I don't shoot that type of stuff, but other people do. And if that's the industry you want in, I want to give you the resources to get there. A lot of it's that is like finding the interviews and adding the value there. So
what's the most bold interview that you've done?
That's a good question. I interviewed good ones. There's a guy, he's in the Ukraine, and he does fashion photography and a bunch of stuff for like high-end models, and he travels all over the place. So that was a really big interview that a lot of people liked, was that, you hear the full-time traveler type thing, like you can travel and make money. So a lot of people that appeal. He kind of talked about how his trip he goes, how he gets the trips funded, how he can shoot content for the resorts that he stays at, or the hotels, or the locations, and then he can basically trade his talent free stay for those places, and then also leverage it by doing stock photo and video as well. So just a lot of cool stuff from different perspectives. Obviously I don't travel 9 months out of the year, so it's kind of cool to get those and get them in the course if people have those interests as well. So
Marilyn has a comment that you were very passionate about your business. What's the source of your inspiration?
Sure. Yeah. So I do, like, most of the time if I'm awake, I'm working, but it's not, a lot of people are like, you're crazy because you work too much, but it's not. What else would I be doing with my 20? Probably watching Netflix or sitting around doing nothing. And I really feel like the world gave me a point to do that this year with the way COVID was and everything. It's like people were just wasting time. It's like, okay, if I can't go out and shoot as much as I normally do, what can I do with my course? Because it's the one thing that I can improve on from home and focus on that completely. So I would say the course of motivation for me is to have a life where there's more impact than that's really the thing, is like have a life of impact and help people as much as possible. Because like I mentioned, that stream of reciprocity, it really comes back to you. I've had so many people that reach out to me that watch a video on YouTube or heard me on a podcast. I'm like, man, this really perspective, like you really helped me a lot, or I can't thank you enough, and those types of things. And that's really the source of motivation for me. Like the income will come from it, but it's really has to lead first. The impact will come, then the influence, then the income. So I think that's really important. And then really, I think of change for me was like getting out of debt as soon as possible. So for me, that was like a big driver, because I have a lot of things I want to do with my life once I get debt free, which will happen in April of 2021. My wife and I are paying off $116,000 of debt in less than 2 years. So it's a lot of it's coming from that is the driver of motivation to get out of debt so we can start doing the things we want to do with our life. And then also just, again, building a future that you want based on it so you can do whatever you want and not have to really worry about money at that point. So that's really the driving factor for me.
Awesome. Is there a market to teach video skills to small businesses who may not be wanting to start a video business specifically, but they're looking to improve the business that they're in?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's another, again, idea that I was kicking around. It's just finding the right market, the people that either want to know the basics, but a lot of it's the strategy, right? So that's what I focus a lot on is people think, oh, I need the camera, I need the editing skills, I need the software. It's really the strategy, it's video strategy. So if you know what platform, how to structure your videos and those things, I really think there is a that. And something that I'm wanting to do in the future as well is having an online course that does that, or at least a webinar that can walk people through what I do when I coach clients about the strategy behind it. What's this video going to do for your business and those types of things? Because obviously, like my entire business is video, like my product is 90 videos. Like you don't have to go that deep, but if you have a service business, oops, my camera shut off. It's getting tired, but I'll just keep talking. That's fine. But if you have a service-based business, you can have one video that's your sales video, one video that is your conversion video, one video that's your onboarding video. Now you have 3 videos and that's all you need to do, right? So I think there definitely is a market for that. It's just a matter of finding the right market that you can get into of people that need basic skills that can do all they need to do themselves. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like this question from Jeremiah. If someone is just starting their business, what would you say is the most important thing to focus on in the beginning? Marketing, products, or brand, etc.
Sure. I would say your MVP, your minimum viable product, out and start testing it. I know a lot of people that try and hold on to it till it's perfect. And honestly, I didn't have the confidence in my product until probably about 2 months ago when I took a step back at all the stuff I'd done this year and was like, holy crap, there's 90 less and 10 interviews and discounts on huge software. Like this, there's a lot of value in this and I'm underpricing it. So for me, that was kind of the turning point. I would say really get a minimum viable product, listen to your audience. Like you said, do that customer, figure out that you know that you're solving the problem that you're wanting, and then focus on marketing. Because you can market the crap out of something, but if you get a ton of customers in, they're unsatisfied, that you derail your business and your brand really quickly. So if you get people in, you want to make sure that you're very sensitive to their problems, them questions, make sure that you're solving their problems, and work on getting more people in. Because once you know the engine's working great and you can drive forever, then you want to put more gasoline in it. You don't want to just put a bunch of gas in a car that's broken, that's kind of puts that can't drive on its own. Like you want to make sure the car drives. So.
Absolutely. That's great advice. And it reminds me of The Lean Startup. It's a book. And if you're interested in entrepreneurship, it's an excellent read and resource. So how many hours a week do you work, Ryan? And maybe it's changed since the beginning. Maybe you've had to put in more at the beginning and now it's maybe on autopilot, but can you give us some insight into that?
Sure. Yeah. So I usually I'll work about an 8 to 9 hour chunk from the morning until 5. Then I'll go exercise, which I highly recommend taking care of your body if you want to work as much as you want, because if you're in good health, you can go a lot longer. So then I go exercise, I'll come home, I'll eat dinner, and then I get back to work from about 7 until about 11 at night. And then I have about 11 is my downtime. So I have about an hour that I can hang out with my wife or watch TV or play with my dogs or anything. But so that works out to probably about 60 hours a week. But again, it's not work to me. And I just think back, like if I didn't do this stuff that I've been doing the last 5 years, like what would I have to show for it? And I think again, that's really it's the gut check. People want to look at the hours and stuff like that, but it's what's the impact that you've made in those 70 hours, right? I could sit at my desk and click buttons for somebody, but it's like, what does that actually turn into business result for you and having a plan with it? So I would focus less on the hours and really try and set your life up to be as efficient as possible. So if you need a break in the middle of the day, if you need a day off, take a day off. Like there's weekends I don't do anything, but then there's weekends that I work Saturday and Sunday and I'm working all the time. So that would be it. And then also the other piece of it is make sure your loved ones understand why you're working so hard. My wife struggled with this when we were first kind of getting things figured out. As I was like, okay, I'm telling you right now, like I'm going to be really busy this week because I'm working on the XYZ. But she understands that if I put the time in now, that it's going to directly benefit her in a couple of years. So it's like, if you have, a spouse, family, or your friend, like, hey, why can't you go out to the bar with me this weekend or whatever? And it's like, again, it's your life, do whatever you want. But I would say prioritize what you want to get done and work when it works for you. So that's what I would suggest.
We have a couple more questions in the chat, but I'll go ahead and open it up to anybody else who might want to ask a question to Ryan directly.
Sure. If you had a question in the chat, feel free to just ask me, like turn your mic on and just ask me. I'm happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Ryan, it's Todd. Have you thought about the extension of this for a kind of an end user client of your customer, which is your students trying to connect to that small business community in their particular markets? It seems like that is a real need, especially in this COVID economy that we have now. It's not going to change that skill set, trying to just match up with the talent, even trying to get Chamber of Commerce's are starting to understand that this has to be something that their communities have to have in order to have a viable small business.
Absolutely.
So
That's a great question.
Back, that there's some way to make that connection. It's a larger issue than just, the glass company on the square needs a website. Sure.
That's a great point. And I was actually on the phone with the founder of Industry Jump, which is a software that does exactly that. So they pair, it's a kind of like for all the different people, what niches they usually platforms, kind of a direct way to get to those people. And they're wanting to get to the point, like you mentioned, Todd, where they have kind of an educational process where they teach them the steps that they need to do, and then they pair them with a company and do it that way. Because we're also seeing media teams growing really fast in-house media teams, also in the agency world, which is the other side of my life that we haven't even talked about. So there's the agency side, there's the business side, the large company side, and then there's the small business side. So there's a lot of different buckets that video marketing can solve for those people. It's just a matter of pairing them up with the right people. But Industry Jump is one of those tools that's doing that. So they're a cool startup. Who else had a question in the chat? Feel free to pop your mic on and ask me. Happy to answer any of those questions for you.
And you had one.
Yeah, I was just curious, do you also shoot videos in your quote unquote spare time?
Yes. So I have a freelance. That's mainly what solo video pro businesses in the Des Moines area. And then I kind of focus on the fitness niche personally. I love that because, like I said, that's what got me started. So trying to shoot the stuff that makes me excited to go do that stuff. So gyms, CrossFit boxes, hype videos for sports teams, product development videos for supplements and fitness products and those things. So that's what I like to shoot in my free time. Questions were there? Feel free to, if people are too shy to talk about it, that's fine.
I think those are all the questions. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, sure. Since we do have so many college students and high school students on line today, what specific advice do you have for them as they are starting to chart their course in life?
Absolutely. That's a good question. I think a lot of it is experiment with a lot of things, but just be curious about solving problems with things. Like there's so many areas you can go. Like I went the full-time route with an agency type role, but you can also shoot freelance. You can book online. There's so many things you can do with it. I would just say, like, be very curious and learn about things. And then honestly, if you're in any industry, not even just starting your own business or anything, but find the people that have done it and go study those people. Ask them out to coffee, find out if they have an online course, invest in yourself and figure those things out. Because if someone else has already been and done it, like, you might as well go learn from those people, right? So that's what I would suggest people do if you want to get into a certain industry. Like, even if it's anything like social worker or anything, like, go ask those people, like, what do you like about it? What do you hate about it? And figure that out, because you might even find a new way to develop something that can be different in a new way and kind of shake up the industry a little bit. What
Hey,
other
Ryan,
questions?
it looks,
Oh,
Ryan,
go
I had
ahead.
a quick question. It looks like you're kind of, I was just kind of Googling you. It looks like you're kind of all over social media. And I'm wondering, do you find any benefit from Vimeo?
Yes. So Vimeo is very good for professional hosting of your videos, terrible for search. So if you're trying to like get found, Vimeo is really hard. Like I could look up Ryan Snaadt in the search bar and it would give me like NASA launches space station. Like it doesn't give you anything that's related. So if you're looking to get found in search, YouTube is a platform for that. But Vimeo is also a good place for hosting your video, your website, if you want them to stream really smooth and professional. So that would be my suggestion there.
Cool, thanks.
You bet.
We have a few more minutes if we have time for one more question, if anyone has one.
What about Vimeo for commercial distribution of a project? Have you tried that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I send all my video files directly to clients through a third-party software, but in terms of like listing a professional portfolio, like I have one for my film work as well. So that's good as well. But now I'm actually in the process now of getting all of my stuff onto Snaadt Media Group's YouTube channel, which I just started yesterday because I was like, oh, I preach about YouTube all the time, but I don't have all my videos on there just to get found in search. So I think if you can do an omni-channel approach, that's big. Focus on the platforms that are search heavy. So Google, YouTube, podcasting, those types of things, and then use the other things just to professionally host your videos as well. So
I have a question about your podcast. I was just noticing on Twitter that you have a podcast, and I retweeted, but I think it's interesting that you are a videographer, but you're using podcast also, which is, you know, no picture. So tell me about that strategy. And video is so popular, and yet so is podcast, and how do those two work together?
sure, I would say if you start a podcast, record the video of it. Like never not shoot video. Like always shoot a video of whatever you're doing. The podcast is great for discoverability, long form consumption, building connection with people so people can learn more about the people I have on or whatever. And then in terms of the video, you can basically, I always take a big rock approach is what it's called. So you shoot, say it's a podcast, you take video of that whole thing. Now you have an audio that you can put on the podcast. You have a video you can put on, you get found in search, take about 6 chunks of that. And now you have 6 chunks of video you can post out on social media. And now developed, 10 pieces of content from doing a 1-hour recording session that you just had a conversation with somebody. So again, it's like, even from this conversation, like we're recording this, I'm planning on posting a micro chunk. I want to drive traffic back to 1 million cups because I appreciate them giving me the platform to talk with you guys. Like all these things, you just have to be thinking a step ahead. It's like, how can I document this? How can I make things better? And on every shoot I do, I set up a 360 camera on my rig so I can record behind the scenes of everything I do and not think about it. Or I put a GoPro on my chest, or I put a camera in there, or I, have somebody come shoot pictures of me or videos of me. And it sounds narcissistic. It's not because I like sitting at home and watching videos and stuff. That's not why. It's because I need that collateral to market myself on my website and to have cutaways from my YouTube videos, people that I'm doing what I practice. So it's recommending your process and what you're doing. So I would say podcast is a great way to go. Video is a great way to go. There's so many different avenues you can do that you have that focus that you can do an omni-channel approach to it. And it'll give you a lot more to use for your business.
Thanks. I think that's really smart. I think more people should think about how they can, use and reuse content in different ways. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. We have a lot of people commenting, great presentation, great job. And I just want to echo those comments. This was awesome. And I feel like we could go on for a whole nother hour, but for the sake of time, if anyone does want to reach out to Ryan directly, please connect with him and ask him questions offline. He is a tremendous resource. Ryan, we have a tradition here at 1MC that before we head out, we like to have our presenter leave us with a little tidbit of motivation, wisdom, inspiration. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about what it is you want to share. But we do have a couple of events I want to let you guys know about. Simpson is having their Startup Storm event next Friday, the 20th. For students, I highly recommend checking that out. Ryan, it looks like he's going to be featured and speaking, so that's enough of a reason, I think, for you all to go. I reshared the information, so there's a link there. There's also an event that's
Hey,
being
Liz,
hosted.
quick
Yeah, go ahead.
question. Is the Simpson event open to the public or just students?
It's focused on students. We're not sharing the link out publicly, but Anne or anybody that would like to jump in and watch, definitely let us know and we'll share it with you.
Okay. Dan, I just asked, Dan was trying to register and wants to know what students he's bringing. And Dan doesn't have students, and so he was just checking.
Dan, go ahead and put your information in there. You are the student, or whatever you put in there. It'll get sent to us, and I'll make sure you have access.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Liz.
You're okay. No, that's awesome. Thank you, Ann. And then there's another event next Wednesday from 12 to noon being hosted by Clay and Milk with VentureNet Iowa. They administer the state of Iowa's innovation funding program. So they're going to talk a little bit about that process and the requirements that have to be met to apply for those programs. But it's a great entry into the funding community here in Iowa. So if you do have a company that you're looking to build and funding is something that you will need in the future, that'll be a really good webinar to check into. So I've added the link there. So Ryan, I'll let you close us out this Wednesday morning.
Sure. Yeah, great. I think a good moment, I just got a notification somebody just bought my course while I'm on this call with you guys. So it's proof that automated sales funnels work very well. So that's a good way to brighten my day up a little bit. But I think really the key to everything, I think, is visualization. I have such a clear vision in my mind of where I want to be before I'm 30. And it's not a question of if I'm going to get there. It's I'm doing it. And I will sacrifice everything I can to get there, because life is so much more satisfying when you can pave your own path and you can do it yourself and you can manifest your own thoughts. So I think really, if you have some kind of vision in your mind that makes you stay up at night, something that makes you excited, or something that's going to, of course I lose my video, something that will get you fired up at night through and do anything that you can do to get, that's what you need to chase in life. So I would say, have a vision board, have a very clear picture in your mind of what that's going to be. For me, lake house, I live in New York City. We just moved here. I'm like 2 blocks from the lake. I want to have a lake house that the back porch overlooks the lake, Saylorville. I want to have certain things like material things, but I also want to be a certain place in my life. I want to have dogs and 4 kids and have a lake house and just be very happy. And I have this vision in my mind of what that's going to be, and I'm going to make it happen. So I think my advice to be, figure out what your lake house is in your life, figure out how you're going to get there, and back, just focus as you can and do all the things that most people are crazy when people are asking you, how long are you working, or why do you have 3 jobs, or what are you doing? Like, when people ask those questions, it's because they're insecure about themselves. Find the thing that makes you secure in yourself and chase it and can't stop. So.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Ryan. Your energy is contagious. And thanks so much for sharing that with us this Wednesday morning. And thanks so much, everyone, for being here. And please join us next Wednesday for our last 1MC of 2020.